Hello everyone, I'm Breor and welcome back to Goodgame Empire. As the title of this video suggests, this is my guide to the battle for Berimond. I've received more requests to make this video than any other, but sometimes receiving so many requests makes it harder for me to get around to covering the topic. Knowing a video is anticipated and asked for motivates me to learn everything there is to learn about the subject in question before making the video. Have I learned everything there is to learn about the battle for Berimond? I don't think so, but it can be sort of difficult to tell. The event appears very rarely nowadays, and whenever it does, I seem to get busy in real life. I'm going to make this video anyways, because again, I have received hundreds of messages asking me to, but if you know more than I do about Berimond, help me out and leave your knowledge in the comments. First and foremost, pronunciation. Berimond or Berimond? Unless you talk to yourself aloud while you play Goodgame Empire, you've probably never had to pronounce all of these fantasy names, but try it and you might be surprised how many alternate pronunciations exist. For the first few months of running this channel, it was actually difficult for me to do my intro because I couldn't pronounce Breor. I'm going to go with Berimond because that's what I originally imagined it to be, and so sorry if that makes this video annoying for you.
Get on with it! Yes, get on with it!
Welcome to my campaign camp in Berimond, specifically constructed to be a Gallantry producing machine. My whole alliance was assigned to fight for the blue faction this time, but sometimes we fight for the red faction as well. Construction within the battle for Berimond is actually quite simple because you start off with a pre-built camp and there are only a few types of buildings to consider. Tents provide room for your traditional soldiers, which you can send to Berimond if you choose. You cannot build a barracks here. Instead, you have these two buildings, the training grounds and the auxiliaries headquarters, which are used to train and store auxiliaries. Upgrading the training grounds will make it possible to add more units to the recruitment queue, and upgrading the headquarters will make it possible to store more auxiliaries overall in your camp. Auxiliaries are cheap and disposable troops that can only be used in Berimond, and they more or less make this event possible. When feasting at full power, an Imperial Guardsman, one of these guys, takes 2 minutes to recruit, but his auxiliary equivalent, the Muscle Man, takes 10 seconds. Auxiliaries will be less powerful than the traditional troops you might choose to import to Berimond, but again, they're very easy to replace. You're going to need a mix of troops to defeat enemy camps and watchtowers, so I would recommend you recruit an even number of musclemen and marksmen. Supply storehouses provide room for you to store resources. Each storehouse built increases your camp's capacity for resources by 7,500 units per resource. I've built 7 because that was the required amount in order to expand my camp to the maximum possible size. While food is very easy to acquire in Berimond, you can't start any feasts from here, and nor can you build enough storehouses to hold more than 80,000 units, which is the amount you'd have to spend to start an aristocratic feast. The marketplace in Berimond is an essentially useless building. It only provides 10 barrows and is unupgradable, but you can pay rubies in the King's Market to increase your barrow capacity across all of your castles if you need to. The stables in Berimond is different from the regular stables in that it has 5 levels and the prices are changed, but it can still only be upgraded using rubies. The battle for Berimond lasts for less than a week, and any ruby investments you make in your camp will be permanently lost after that, so I would really recommend against upgrading this structure. Travel times in Berimond are short already. The military hospital can be built and upgraded in Berimond, but it isn't very useful because you cannot use it to heal auxiliaries. For reasons I'll explain in a moment, I use wolfhounds in Berimond, but these units require rubies to be healed, and that would be pretty wasteful. In terms of fortifications, you can upgrade your walls and towers in Berimond, and you can also dig yourself a moat. The only purpose for doing so would be to satisfy quest objectives, since PvP isn't really conducted here. However, you should remember to apply a Castellan to your Berimond camp, just in case somebody decides to attack you. From the construction menu, we see that we can also build a construction crane, a hunter's camp, a watchtower, and a ruby moat, but all of these are ruby purchases, and again, you'd be foolish to buy ruby buildings in Berimond. There's one last thing I haven't mentioned. The decorative items here in Berimond do not offer public order. Instead, they offer morale. Having many decorative items will provide high morale and thus increase the combat strength of your troops and auxiliaries. Building more and more decorative items will start to have less and less of an effect, so I'd recommend stopping when you reach a morale of about 190%. These arsenals and field kitchens were included as part of the pre-built camp, and I filled up the rest of the space with more tents. If you forgot what you saw at the military hospital, what I did next might surprise you. Instead of just sending regular attackers to Berimond, I also included about 300 wolfhounds. I'm using these wolfhounds to satisfy the objectives of a particular quest within the quest book called No Mercy. The quest objectives are to defeat 3 enemy camps and loot at least 3,000 resources from them. If you do this, you will be given a small sum of coins and, more importantly, 15 Gallantry increasing tools. These are like glory flags for Gallantry, and because you can complete this quest as many times as you'd like, you can actually earn tons of these tools if you remain dedicated enough to keep attacking. Wolfhounds are great because they will move quickly to their targets, but they aren't so great for 2 reasons. 1, they aren't very powerful, so you won't be able to attack camps that are defended, and 2, they can't carry any resources and thus cannot satisfy the loot 3,000 resources requirement. You thus need to send at least 1 attack with regular soldiers that have a carrying capacity. For these reasons, it might be a great idea to use other fast-moving troops that are more powerful and can carry resources, like samurai attackers or assassins. If you find a player who doesn't have any defenders at her castle, it might be tempting to repeatedly attack her whenever the cooldown expires. I suppose this might be a practical option, but it's on the borderline of bullying. Clearly, the player logged in recently to join the battle for Berimond, and attacking their camp repeatedly won't allow them to get going and participate in the event. As you guys know, I don't encourage multi-accounting, but a better option might be this. If you have an inactive friend... Nudge. Say no more! ...in the game who would allow you to attack them in Berimond without defending, that would be pretty ideal for the purposes of completing this quest. Attacking enemy camps is a great way to complete that quest and earn tools, but it's not the best way to earn Gallantry. To do that, you're going to have to attack enemy watchtowers. This button on your screen here will automatically take you to the nearest watchtower, but that target might not be the best one to attack. If you trace the white line all the way back, it will lead you to the enemy's capital, which you can then click on to find the paths to the other watchtowers. Only the watchtower at the end of each path will be available to attack, and defeating enemy watchtowers is how your team will advance to the capital. Should your team unlock the capital and defeat it, new players will be prevented from entering Berimond on the side of the opposing faction. You will then be able to attack and defeat enemy player camps to knock these players out of the event. Unfortunately, the runtime for the event is too short to allow that to ever happen, so there's never really a winner of Berimond. Maybe one day Goodgame Empire will run the event for 20 days and a victor will be decided, though I doubt it. The purpose of checking out and spying the other watchtowers is to make the decision about which one would be easiest to attack. To defeat the watchtowers, use ranged troops with mantlets on the first wave, just as you would do to defeat samurai and nomad camps. You may have to use more vent and ruby tools against the Berimond watchtowers, but the watchtowers are great targets for looting rubies, and participating in the event will likely pay off. I have so many ruby mantlets lying around throughout all of my castles that I can definitely afford to dispose of these ones. There's been an ongoing debate as to whether or not the watchtowers change their setups. According to both my observations and the team at Goodgame Studios, they do change their setups randomly. I believe there are a limited number of setups they can take, however, and this might be what's causing the confusion. The watchtower might have the option between setups A, B, and C. You spy, C setup A, attack and defeat it, and then the watchtower randomly chooses setup A again, thus not actually changing after that particular attack. An employee of Goodgame Studios said that the watchtowers commonly retain the same setup up to 4 attacks in a row. However, as I said, they do sometimes change, and that necessitates that you both spy after every attack and send your attacks one at a time. You cannot run convoys against watchtowers like you can against samurai and nomad camps, and if you don't know what convoys are in Goodgame Empire, you should check out my remastered Samurai Invasion video. Each watchtower protects the 3 resource villages next to it. When they are destroyed, the resource villages can be attacked and destroyed as well. Destroying them will make it so that players on the opposing faction will receive fewer resources every hour. Likewise, the resources you receive in Berimond are coming from your team's resource villages. There are only 2 more things to explain about this event, but before I get to them, let me first give you a Battle for Berimond bonus tip. Sending tools and troops to this event is free, and when the event concludes, all of your regular troops and tools will return to your main castle. Thus, if you have thousands of tools in the Outer Kingdoms that you'd like to transport to your main castle, send them through Berimond for free. This is a great deal for me because I produce tons of wooden mantlets in my outer castles, and yet only use them to defeat the samurai and nomads in the Great Kingdom. If you want to do this, remember that you'll need to send at least one soldier to carry your tools, and there will need to be room for him in your campaign camp. You can delete soldiers from the troop management window if you need to make space, or if you are a nicer ruler who doesn't want to get rid of his troops, you can just build more tents. Onwards then to explaining the whole event panel. The first tab gives you an introduction to the event, which you probably don't need, seeing as how you're watching this video. The second tab provides buttons for going to nearby enemy camps and watchtowers, and also for traveling between the event and your regular castles. You can also send troops to your campaign camp by clicking this button. The third tab provides the rankings for the event. I'll be able to complete the point rewards for the event before it concludes, but I don't understand how people are coming up with numbers like 500,000. My guess is that some rubies were purchased to make that happen. In the level 70 bracket, the top 50 players will be awarded a piece of equipment. What you get will depend upon your faction, although the two sets are approximately equal in strength. I actually own them both on my super secret closed beta test account, and so I can show you their appearances and their stats. The Bear Strength, which is the commander set for the blue faction, provides plus 90% melee combat strength, plus 90% ranged combat strength, an 80% enemy wall protection reduction, a 40% enemy gate protection reduction, a 60% enemy moat protection reduction, plus 55% travel speed, 65% later detection, and 40% additional glory points. The Lion's Pride, the cleverly named commander set for the red faction, provides plus 90% melee combat strength, plus 90% ranged combat strength, a 90% enemy wall protection reduction, a 35% enemy gate protection reduction, a 50% enemy moat protection reduction, plus 60% travel speed, 60% later detection, and 45% additional glory points. By the way, my closed beta account has 110 million rubies and all of the unique equipment in the game, so yeah, it was pretty cool of Goodgame Studios to give it to me. Last but not least, it's time to explain the Gallantry titles in the game. They work exactly like the Glory titles, but offer different bonuses. The rewards for the top 1, top 20, and top 50 are excellent for PvP, and the reward for the title of Weapon Master is very impressive as well. Because there's such a large jump between Guardian of the Sword and Weapon Master, often Weapon Masters will be among the top 50 players as well. You do need at least 95,000 Gallantry points to be considered for the rank-based rewards, so when Berimond hasn't been run for a while, nobody will have access to these titles. The ranks of Oppressor through Guardian of the Sword will allow you to recruit very strong attackers for coins. The rank of Widowmaker is very important for food production in the Outer Kingdoms. The ranks of Stormpike through Ravager will allow you to recruit less powerful but still solid Berimond units, and the ranks below that offer an array of smaller rewards. As you can see, these are all very important rewards, and you should try your best to earn them whenever either of the Berimond events are being run. In a future video, I'll talk about the Berimond Invasion, which is a separate event entirely, but you can also earn Gallantry points from it. We haven't seen it in a while in the game. Here's another Battle for Berimond bonus tip. You can send your soldiers in this kingdom to the capital if you want to protect them while you're not online. This will keep them from being killed. Players on the opposing team won't be able to attack the capital unless they destroy all of the watchtowers, which, as we discussed, is unlikely to happen due to the time limitations imposed upon the event. This is the point in the video where I say thanks. Thanks for watching it, thanks for requesting it, and thanks for your continued support of the channel. If you liked this video, please do me a favor and share it with your alliance mates. It might encourage them to participate and succeed in the event. I've been Breor, and I'll see you next time.